Good evening, and welcome to our Tuesday Talks webinar. My name is Susan Brown, and I am the Associate Director of Parent and Family Programs. It is a pleasure to be hosting this evening's webinar with the College of Computer and Information Science. This evening, you will be hearing from Doreen Hodgkins. She is the Associate Dean of the College of Computer and Information Science, and Ben Hescott, Professor and Director of the College of Computer and Information Science. During tonight's talk, you are invited to type questions into the Q&A pod, which is on the right side of your screen. Questions will be answered following the presentation. So I'm going to turn it over to our guest speaker. Welcome, Ben and Doreen. Thank you so much for coming tonight and talking with us. I know parents look forward to hearing from what the college has to say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, welcome, everybody. Ben and I were just discussing how it's a lot easier to stand in front of people than in front of a screen, but we're going to do the best we can. So we wanted to give you a little bit of an overview of what's going on in the college right now. And so the agenda tonight is just to give some highlights, talk about some new courses and programs. Of course, we'll talk about co-op and what's going on there. And we've got a lot of new clubs and organizations, and I can tell you that particularly with the freshman class, the students are so eager to keep busy. I've noticed this theme much more so this year than in past years. We'll talk about the academic resources as far as support and how we're keeping our retention where it is, and then we'll go to the Q&A like Susan mentioned. So, two new degree programs that we have since this past fall is the BS in Cybersecurity and the BS in Data Science. The cybersecurity, as you can imagine, just opening up the newspaper any day of the week, very popular program with the students right now, as well as data science. You know, we've been collecting all this data for years, and we're suddenly realizing no one knows how to analyze it. So, go on to the next slide is also talking about the combined majors. The couple new ones we have just this fall is the economics and the history, linguistics, and there's one missing there, Ben, isn't there? Political science. Oh, that's there, but that's new. Again, if you look at this day and age, that's a good one to add in. And we continue to be very flexible with our programs. Again, some of the students that have come in this year, lots of credits behind them, want to be challenged. I see them taking master's level courses in the next year or two. I see them, we're going to start a new program as far as talking about research and opportunities. We really want to encourage our undergraduates to become more research oriented. And Northeastern being Northeastern, we're always tweaking programs. So we're going to be encouraging the freshmen as necessary to enroll in the NUN term. So for the freshman parents, I've been talking with the students. They will be working with their academic advisors with regards to the new term and an opportunity to take courses that are offered in the fall. Many of you have probably heard, if your son or daughter is in Fundies 1, 2, object-oriented design, logic computation, systems. I mean, the faculty, I walk the halls Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights, and some of these students are working 15, 20, 25 hours per course. We spend, as you can see, over $2 million in student support. We're trying to hire more students all the time. I am constantly telling your children, if you come the night that homework is due, it's going to be very crowded. So again, I want to encourage you to encourage them to participate in the tutoring that's offered on Saturdays, Sundays, Friday afternoons, Friday nights. We offer it 7 days a week. The co-op program is alive and well. We are continuing to place 100% of the students that want to go out. So as you can see, some of your children might be involved in the Intro to Co-op course. That is the preparation, and they will soon, this is a very stressful time for them because it's stressful academically, and they're also applying for jobs, for co-op jobs. They're interviewing, they're trying to juggle a lot of things. So if you're not hearing from them, that is why. So the learning process is the actual co-op. They'll go out for 6 months. Their first co-ops, they're going to make anywhere between $23 to $25 an hour, and it goes up from there. I was talking to a couple upperclassmen today, and it's not unusual for the upperclassmen to continue working on a part-time basis after completion of their co-ops, even if the co-op's on the West Coast. And then the students will meet their co-op coordinators when they return to talk about the co-op, what did they learn, how could it have been better, what do they want to do the next time. More and more we're finding students coming back that are saying, I get it. I'm not so concerned about getting an A anymore. I understand what I need to learn. I'm going to refresh on a couple courses, but I understand, I need this information. So it's just a wonderful time to be in the college. Our core placements as our enrollments are up. So as you can see, from last year we placed 461. It's up 19%, up to 548. It's going to continue to grow. We enrolled 400 students in the fall, another 50 in January. And looking at applications for next year, I wouldn't be surprised for what we'll be hitting about a freshman class of 500. We will continue to hire staff. We're on target to hire 9 new faculty. Next year, we've already hired one, so we're feeling pretty good. And we also place master's level students, so the numbers are there. Also thought you might like to see the largest co-op employers, Amazon being one, the top employer, and Facebook, a recent, in the last 4 or 5 years. Intuit has been with us for a number of years. They're out on the West Coast, San Diego. So it just kind of goes down. Google just started with us the last couple, 3 years. As I mentioned earlier, the students really want to be involved. So a couple of students met with Ben a couple weeks ago, right? You want to talk about NU Hacks, how they want to do it differently?
Yeah, so we'll just kind of go through some of the student organizations and groups and ways for your student to be able to get involved with the college. So for instance, NU Hacks is one of our, so you can see the logo there. One of the groups came back and they've decided to sort of reinvent themselves. Rather than just focus on hackathons, which are pretty common, they felt that peer learning was an opportunity for them to get more involved. So they're actually going to start up a speaker series this semester that focuses specifically on tools and things that they need to learn out in the real world, as it were. And so they're organizing people to come in from outside, from their co-ops, from friends, from alums, to the actual students themselves hosting these information sessions. Another group that's not listed here because it's so brand new is that students have actually started a mentorship program. So here we're looking at some of our more senior students, our sophomores and up, that are looking at ways to sort of support the first-year students in their first-year experience. So we're excited about that. That's in addition to our new WIT program, which is our Women in Technology group. So we have a very strong group for women in computer science. In concert with that, some of our students just actually worked with She Hacks, which was, you may have read in the New York Times, which is the largest women's hackathon for college students, with over 1,000 young women getting together and creating software apps for everything from the themes of She Smiles to politics and partisanship in politics, all the way to health and wellness. So we're really proud of our students and their civil commitment into the community here in the Boston area. So we at the college really work hard to make sure that they have all of those opportunities.
And getting back to the graphs I mentioned earlier, this gives you a sense of how quickly the college has grown. I remember the year that it was 92, and I thought, if we could just break 100. And now I'm like, oh my goodness, we're going to break 500. But it's all good, all good. And here are the percentage of females. We continue to grow. This summer we'll be having a couple of programs, I hope, that are being offered by a couple of the faculty for area women for a residential 4-week program. And then there's another one that we're waiting to hear from NSF. And that proposal is to bring 28 women from 7 different countries over to learn how to code. So I am now recruiting some of the women in the college as far as saying, what are you doing this summer and do you want to work for us for 4 weeks? So more to come on that. So there's our contact information. I know we've covered a lot of material, but would love to hear what's on your mind tonight and go from there.
Thank you, Doreen and Ben, for giving us a good overview. As I mentioned earlier, if you have a question for us tonight, we will take it in the Q&A pod on the right hand of the screen, and we will begin taking questions. So, Ben and Doreen, I think a lot of parents have concerns about co-op and the cycle. And when do students as a first year go out on co-op? When do they take the class? That type of thing. So maybe we review a little bit about the classes they take and how the co-op process works.
They're probably going to take either their first semester or second semester sophomore year, most of the students. What we do is we split the class in half. There is no advantage to being in one division over another because all employers offer co-op both terms. So, and we also offer all classes both terms. So there's no disadvantage there at all. They will go out on their first co-op. Right now, sophomores are in, some of the sophomores, half of them, and intro to co-op. And they're working with their co-op coordinators. They're getting their resumes together. They're going to events such as Brush Up Your Skills and Career Expos. We've got alumni and employers coming back to talk with them, work with their resumes. They're learning how to use our database of about 2,000 employers. And they will soon start applying for co-op positions. And then it's kind of a wait. Are they going to get an interview? Are they going to get an offer? Juggling all that with classes, etc. They will work with their co-op coordinator. And one of the things they need to do during this time is meet with their co-op coordinator at least once a week to let them know what's going on. So it's a very hectic time. And the co-op coordinator would just touch base as far as making sure, you know, if you're not getting interviews, let's see what kind of jobs are you applying to. Maybe they're to advance. If you're getting interviews and no offers, then let's talk about how the interview's going and how are you communicating, that type of thing. We encourage students not to hoard offers, and once they accept an offer, that is it. They take themselves out of the running, and frankly, they're typically relieved once they, it's kind of like getting into college again. It's like, phew, that's over. Now I can just focus on the classes.
I know one question that often comes up that I hear a lot, can parents look to see where the jobs are in their portal? And unfortunately, being with the parent portal,
Yes.
in my office, they cannot see them through the parent portal.
Correct.
Only the students will see the co-op
Right.
positions that are available. We have someone asking us, are all the co-ops 6 months? They thought they heard that the gaming one was 3 months.
The gaming one is actually 4 months. They would go out their third year. A lot of that is based strictly on the industry, and they can command what they want right now, and we keep working with them on that. The college is actually funding 3 students to go to the GamePAC conference out in San Francisco. This is the largest conference in the country, and they're 3 seniors. They figured out a way to get tickets, and we're going to fund their travel. So what I do is we have the students go out there and kind of show our products. I used to send the co-op coordinators, but we're getting much better response from the industry as far as seeing the students, interviewing them, and saying, do you have any more of those?
Can you talk a little bit about, we'll stay with the co-op subject for a minute here.
Sure.
That seems to be the popular one. Can you talk a little bit about how a co-op is created with the company? Who actually goes out and does that? And if a parent has a company and is interested, who would they speak to?
Yeah, co-op coordinators go out developing positions typically in the summertime when it's a little bit slower. We have recently, because of the increase in student numbers, I have tweaked 3 different positions so that I have one person that's focused on the West Coast part-time throughout the year, and 2 other people that are not teaching the Intro to College course and are focusing in on positions in New York City, Chicago, and the Boston area. See our contact information. You can contact Ben or myself. I'd love to have positions from parents. To be quite honest, I'm marketing co-op all the time. It's like I will talk about it with anybody, but the main reason is because a co-op student is that good. They're that good. They're like walking sponges, and they have so much to contribute that I really stand behind them.
And I'll just add, I'm just going to add real quick, because we're lucky at Northeastern to have multiple campuses, that co-op isn't just restricted to the Boston area or even the Bay Area, right, which is obviously where most of our co-ops are. We're really looking at areas outside. There are co-ops in the Midwest. There are co-ops in Charlotte. There are co-ops in Florida. So we really have, there are co-op opportunities abroad, of course. So we've got a lot of opportunities for all of your students to be able to do that. The other thing I want to mention that relates to that is also we look at not just co-ops at sort of the big tech companies, but we're also looking at co-ops that meet your students where they are. So we're actively working for those combined majors to make sure that the co-op is meaningful. A student that's in a combined major in something like English and computer science, we're really looking to make sure that the co-op opportunities are really sort of using both of their skills.
One of your listings was Northeastern University as a co-op placement. Can you talk a little bit about that and some of the positions students could take on campus working?
Right. A lot of it is research, and a lot of it is applications. So, for example, we just had a student work in the registrar that came up with a phenomenal application that increased the efficiency for all the academic advisors as far as they used to call them rollover sheets.
Oh, well, yeah.
And you'd get 100, 200 stacks of paper that advisors would have to go through every term to decide which course. So, you know, a student went in, wrote a script, came up with this really nice app that is just wonderful. The college hires students in research areas as well. The NSF, we actually require all faculty every time they submit a grant to have a budget for an undergraduate research experience. They don't pay as well, so both Ben and I and another professor, Alan Nislov, we all have funds to help kind of pad that up a little bit to provide more of an experience and compete with the private sector.
I know a lot of the co-op advisors work really hard to place the students. Is there ever a time that a student may not get a placement, and what would happen? What would the student do during that time?
Okay. We had 3 students last semester that did not get placement. What we did was we worked with them, and they knew this all along so the parents wouldn't be shocked. They went back to class, and what we're working with them right now on is communication skills, interviewing skills. They have just no experience, and it was really hard. So we're trying to get them to participate in hackathons. A lot of employers want students that have participated in hackathons. It's the teamwork, it's the communication, the creativity, et cetera.
In your presentation, you talked about new term.
Yes.
And we actually did a webinar this afternoon on that, and
Uh-huh.
we'll be posting our slides in conversation later in the week if you missed that presentation. But can you talk a little bit about rising sophomores that go out and what is
New term? It is wonderful. I was just talking with a student about it the other day. First of all, the university is very different. We're talking May, June, and it's just much slower pace. The classes are offered 4 days a week. The university offers activities on Fridays. They go to Six Flags, they go to baseball games, so there's a much more of a collegial spirit amongst the students, slower. The classes are more intense because they're meeting every day. We're very careful about which classes we select to put in there so that, they can process what's coming at them. But students that do it love it, and the relationships they build both with faculty, staff, and students is great.
question? If a student is in the Explore program and is curious about coming over to the computer science, which I'm sure you would like that,
Yes.
can you recommend what they should do, the process, and maybe some of the courses they should
Absolutely.
be taking?
So the first thing they should do is probably send me an email.
Yeah.
So I want to answer this with a broad sort of stroke, but I also want to sort of answer it individually, right? So this is something where that person should meet with me to kind of talk about what is computer science and what does a computer science career look like. Then I'm also going to ask that they work with my partner, Amy, who's the person that's in charge of advising, to kind of look and drill down a little bit deeper and look at their individual schedule and look at the opportunities to be able to sort of use their existing courses. So again, assuming that this might be a first-year student that's now 2 semesters in, what are the ways that we want to transition them successfully at the sort of course level? If they hadn't taken our Introduction to Computer Science, our so-called fundamentals class, that we would sort of place them in the fundamentals as soon as possible. With that particular student, we're going to want to look at, would you take classes over the summer? Is that what makes sense for you? So I want to just make sure that there's a broad process that starts with just a question and an office visit. But we would tailor that individual depending on things like advanced placement courses, their individual sort of desires, whether or not they wanted to sort of add a combined major or what that looks like. And so that starts with meeting me.
Actually, I want to share that Ben's probably his best TA this semester is the young woman that came from the Explore program. And she's fantastic, and we have her talk with students a lot. But I also wanted to mention that NEWIT, we mentioned they did the SheHacks. The weekend before, they offered a hackathon for non-majors. They had over 70 students, many of them from the Explore program. Many times the way we engage students is they come in, learn how to do a basic website or whatever, and it's like, wow, I really like this. So we're working very closely with the staff in the Explore program.
A parent just asked, can you speak about the Global Game Jam?
Oh, Global Game Jams, yes.
This past weekend.
Yes, that is coordinated by the folks over in College of Arts, Media, and Design, Game Design. We have participated in the past. The kids had a great time, and they always have a good time. It's a very, very active group.
It sounds like
Very,
fun.
yeah, it is. It is.
In regards to cybersecurity, you talked about how that's very popular right now. How many classes does a student take in cybersecurity to complete that major?
I always tell the truth, which is I don't know the exact number.
Yeah.
This is a brand new major. What I would definitely say is the list of courses and the actual count is on the web. If you can't find it, email me and I will give it to you. But I do want to mention sort of instead a broader stroke on this one, which is the excitement around this major and the
Big
number
time.
of faculty members that are in this, right? As Doreen mentioned earlier, one of the things that Northeastern has an advantage over all other universities, I know this because I've been at other universities, is that we're a college of computer science, and that allows us to really meet the demand. So my boss, Carla, one of the most amazing, brilliant women I've ever met in my entire life, and she goes through and she adapts to that change. She really knows where computer science is going, and she makes the hires to do it. And so with this particular major, with cybersecurity, we've been hiring aggressively to get leaders in this field so that we can be able to do this. Students have two options with this major. You can actually sort of have an NSA-approved version. And so I want to make sure you understand what that is. That means that the government has said you can work for us as a spy. That's not really what they say, but you should think that it really is at the government level, looking at this degree and certifying it and saying that this is a quality student that needs to know what they need to work for the government when it comes to cybersecurity. So we're really proud of that. We're proud of those students. We've got many, many courses. We have on the order of 7 or 8 faculty members that are somewhat linked to the cybersecurity or teaching cybersecurity courses. So there are many of them, and they rotate in. We have a couple leaders in that field that are really popular with the students. So one of our professors actually is a cybersecurity expert and actually teaches our fundamentals class. So first-year students are actually meeting those people. So again, if you've got individual questions on courses, please email me. I'm happy to answer those. If you can't find the overall listing, I will find it for you. But there are quite a bit of options for them. There are many, many electives in cybersecurity, and those students are doing very well.
I wanted to mention that we also just opened a new interdisciplinary science and engineering building this past fall. We were not scheduled to be in that space at all, and we have the entire 6th floor, and it is referred to as the Institute on Cybersecurity. We're really focusing in on that area quite a bit.
We talked about new term. How is new term different than summer one?
Right.
Do most rising sophomores take part in both?
New term is just for freshmen,
Okay.
and it is summer one. So it's summer one for upperclassmen, but for freshmen, they've labeled it new term.
So here's one. Does a cyber student need to select to be in the NSA-approved version of the cyber major?
Yeah, so the plan of study, this is something that they would work with their advisor for sure, and the answer is yes. If they would like the NSA certified version, there are additional courses beyond the sort of requirements of the standard major. So one would need to know, she would need to pick that or take those individual courses. So the answer is yes, they would need to know.
Another question regarding the curriculum. Does the curriculum cover enterprise or business transactional computing? Transactional.
So I don't know that I understand the question. So
Right.
one of the information sciences do work with what would be what I would call computing that's distributed into the business environment, and they actually work very well with things like enterprise software in the sense that we're looking at, I need to distribute this software at a larger scale, I need to manage the software at a larger scale. So I know that some of those particular things are definitely covered throughout that entire curriculum for information science, but I can't speak to the actual titles of the course of what that would be, so I apologize. You're much better at cybersecurity with me. I'm a crypto and what computers can't do, so I'm the algorithms guy.
Just to be clear, a lot of questions are coming in about new term, and they're asking is that a separate program that the freshmen take part in. And we said this in the very beginning, if
Yeah.
you joined us a little late, that new term is summer one, and it's encouraged, students are encouraged to be part of that and speak with their advisor about class selections and things.
I want to, as the newest one member of Northeastern, I want to actually sort of like do a +1 on that question. So it really is that new term is a special word that we have for first-year students that are staying on to do a summer, right? Because of the co-op cycle, often our students are out on co-op over the summers, or they're actually taking a semester or summer-long course load to be able to sort of add and create the schedule that's appropriate for them. New term is just for summer one for first year. It took me a while too.
We used to encourage the freshmen to just go home for 4 months. Now it's like, no, if you want the flexibility of being able to decide later to graduate in 4 years versus 5, then what I encourage students to do is bank those credits so that you can do that if you want.
So, Doreen, you spoke a little bit about in the presentation that some of your undergraduate students take graduate level classes.
Yes.
How does the student do that?
They can work with their academic advisor, And as long as they have the grades their sophomore year, they will work with them and talk about, they get waivers for one class and go into the master's. In fact, we've had some freshmen doing some master's level courses starting this past fall. So they work very closely with their academic advisor.
Okay. Going to take it back to co-op for a minute here. I'm trying to
Go.
We have someone saying that there seems to be a lot of structure with the classes and
Yes.
setting them up for co-op and meeting with the advisor
Yes.
for the first co-op. What happens on their second or third co-op?
That is still there. However, what I find is students use their co-op coordinators less the second time, and many times they don't even use them the third. And sometimes they'll develop something on their own, and as long as it passes what we feel is the appropriate level, they can do that. But once they start moving through the process, we kind of release a little bit and let them move forward.
Okay. Simple question. What kind of attire do you suggest they wear when they go on in an interview?
It absolutely 100% depends. So I remember one of my students who now is actually pretty high up at Microsoft, originally went to interview at Microsoft and got into a fight with her mother because her mother was like, you cannot go in jeans. And she called me on the phone and was like, speak to my mother. So it really, trust that this is something that will be covered in the co-op class.
Yes.
And they'll talk about sort of professional things. Computer science is an unusual field. Startups would be something where we would expect that would be a little more casual, perhaps, right? We're going to help your student understand and navigate that with the individual co-op. If a student was going to New York City and trying to work at Goldman Sachs, they need to be in a suit. If they're going to Microsoft, it's a little bit more casual at Microsoft.
Right.
And if you're going to a startup, it's probably even yet more casual.
Right.
But someone once told me this wonderful advice, and I would give it all the time, which is you should wear the nicest clothes that you feel comfortable in. And so that's always a great default, with the exception that, again, especially in the business world, they're going to have slightly higher than the normal tech field restrictions on sort of attire. So we work with the students.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a parent asking, is there a type of meeting that's coming up in February?
There's a Career Expo probably. There's another opportunity for the students to check out who's wearing what and what the employer's wearing and that thing. Yes, there's a big Career Expo coming up.
My son is a third-year student and completed his first co-op in software development, which was an amazing experience.
Good.
Wondering if graduating seniors are ever offered jobs with that company. And can you mention the exiting process and the job recruitment timeline?
Sure. 67% of our students are offered full-time jobs from their co-op employer. In fact, your Apples, your Facebook, your Googles, Amazon, they tend to want to hire the third-year students so that they can hire them before they come back to campus before. So it's not unusual for our students to have jobs the August before May at all. There is the Career Services Office, but frankly, our students are so connected with the industry and with us, they will be placed.
I have another parent asking, my son is a second semester freshman. He is in the BS Cybersecurity program. He will stay 5 years and do 3 co-ops. Does GPA matter in the acceptance of any of his co-ops? And how many semesters would they be doing with the 3 co-ops?
Either way, no matter what, 5 years or 4 years, they're going to do 8 academic semesters. And those are the only times that you have to pay the tuition. So it's 8 academic semesters. If he does 3 co-ops, he will be here the 5 years. GPA matters. With some of the big firms, it does. With others, not so much.
Skills matter first. GPA definitely is a factor. So one of the things that's unusual in computer science is that your son or daughter is going to actually have a technical interview. And that technical interview is going to be when they actually demonstrate their knowledge through almost like an exam. And so another way that GPA matters is that you're going to take an exam on these co-ops. Working and succeeding in your courses is a good indicator of being able to then do well on this individual technical exam.
Someone's asking about being a potential employer and how would they do that. You can actually email parents at neu.edu and I can put you in touch with co-op coordinator person who does all that outreach work. So we have time for a few more questions. Questions are kind of slowing down, so if anyone has one, they feel free to send one in. What study abroad opportunities are there for computer science students?
They want to, again, they work really closely, Susan, with the academic advisor. So by the end of the first semester, based on what the student thinks at that point in time, like I always say, I don't know what I want to do when I grow up, so why should a student know? But they will get a spreadsheet from their advisor mapping out exactly what they want to do based on their thoughts there. And then that can change and they can plug things and move things around. So they would talk at that time or the second semester about study abroad and how they might fit that in versus a co-op. Maybe they do the co-op first, come back to class, and then do the study abroad. But yes, we do that just like any of the other universities.
There's so many opportunities. We are actually
Yeah.
doing a webinar in the month of February on global opportunities in study abroad programs.
Yep.
So there will be a separate webinar about
Right.
that coming up.
Global co-op, we do them. The students all raise their hands when we say who wants to go international, and then they start hearing what their colleagues are making domestically. And they start saying, maybe I'll do a co-op in the States and do a study abroad or do a dialogue,
Mhm.
or I'll just visit my friends that are doing one of those. And so it's interesting.
A student that I'm desperate for her to come back and be my TA is out on a global co-op, and then she's actually going to then go study abroad, so she's away at 2 different locations for the next year.
We really encourage the students to think about tutoring, being a TA, grading, etc. And what the students will tell us hands down is the more they work with the material, the more they teach other people, the better they understand it. So it's all a win-win.
If a student is in one major and wants to switch to another, how easy is that to do?
The majors within the college are very easy, right? Again, you would meet with your advisor. There's not much to do with regard to internally within the college other than meet with your advisor and actually sort of make a plan. Course requirements across the different majors within the college, they're different, so you would need to meet with your advisor to sort of do that. And basically, you would meet with your advisor, tell them you want to do it, fill out a form basically, and be done with it. It's not much harder to switch outside of the colleges. To switch into the college is a grade point requirement, so if your son or daughter is not in the College of Computer and Information Science, they're welcome. We want them. There's a grade point average threshold to be able to be considered for that transfer, and you basically do a short application, and it's quick and done. And you meet with an advisor. So it's very easy to switch majors.
Mm-hmm.
So do all computer science students have to have a major within the college? Do they have to declare one the first year, second year, or
51% are straight CS, and the rest are either combined majors. I think that cybersecurity is definitely going to catch up with that. I think data science is also going to do that. I also wanted to mention that we continue to increase our retention rate from freshman to sophomore year. So our retention rate is 98.5 this past year.
Excellent. Yeah.
So we work really closely with the students. So to me, success is when your child is where they want to be. And if that means they want to move from computer science to business or CAMD or engineering, then we will do everything we can to get them over there and make sure they're successful.
Can you talk a little bit about the data science major?
Yeah, I'm actually teaching the Introduction to Data Science class actually this semester. That's actually targeted to non-majors first as an introduction to the field. So the way that I would think about computer science, or the way that I'd like you to think about this, is computer science is the broad umbrella under which information science, cybersecurity, and data science all live. So when you say computer science, it's all of those things. A data science major is going to focus on data, right? So I always joke that you're information engineers, and so they're taking data and information and they're building something from it. So here you might be looking at, and these combine very nicely with some of the other majors. So you can, and we're working on a lot of data science combined majors that if they're not on the books, they're in the works, in particular looking at data science meets natural science. So you can imagine a situation, right? So I'm obsessed with my 23andMe results. Here there's a big amount of data that we have in terms of human genetics, and they've got to understand probabilities. We've got to work through noisy data and say, you know, is Ben at risk for this? Does Ben have this disease? You know, what color is his hair? And data science is sort of actually looking at that data, analyzing it, making a confident sort of choice. Data science is also, how do I store big data? How do I efficiently sort of query it? So it's many things, but I want you to think the data science major is, I'm all about the data and what are the tools to get there. So I'm going to also just add in cybersecurity, again, that umbrella of it's in computer science, but I might want to do something with security. Information science sounds very similar, but information science is often sort of business related. So there is that, like somebody had said, that enterprise software. How do I actually sort of distribute information at a business sort of level?
Can a third-year student take that data science?
It's intended for non-majors. I do have a few majors in it. It would be a third-year student could take it. It would count as an elective. She or he would probably not want to do it because it's really going all the way back to first principles. What they can do instead is they can actually start the data science track a little bit later in the system. So I would like to see them take a machine learning class instead. So what I would ask is you would ask that your student contact me and we'd figure out the best inroad and the course for them individually. I will say though, for my first year parents, some of your first year students have, after taking the first intro, are landed in my course, and that seems fine. So it would be okay for a first year, second semester, hey, I'll take Ben's class. I know it's going to be a little bit easier. I've been through some of the material. It still counts. But the third year student's going to be most of the time bored.
Is there a new robotics minor in the computer science program, or is that another school?
In the College of Engineering.
College of Engineering. Oh. What about job placement rate? I know you spoke about it early.
That's
Yeah,
right.
I know you spoke about it earlier in the presentation.
The last, 2016, we had a 93% response rate of the survey, and 89% were placed. So, like I say, students start getting jobs in August. They will come in and say, I have a job with HubSpot, and it's going to be very difficult to keep motivated. And what I say is hang that letter up on your mirror, underline contingent upon getting the degree, and that will be very helpful. So it's just not unusual. Some students will say, Doreen, I'm tired, I need a break, and I'm like, oh my God. And they take the summer off. And they might travel to the West Coast. We had 12 of them go in tandem across the country a couple years ago and moved to the West Coast, and they all got employed. But, you know, if you look at, open the paper, there's 1.4 million tech jobs went unfilled last year. The positions, the opportunities are out there.
As I mentioned, we did do a webinar today on new term program, and we're still getting many questions about that. Typically, the new term, they take 2 courses, correct? What would be behind the program? And is the intro to co-op offered during that time?
No.
I didn't
No.
think so, okay.
The reason being that we have found if we offer the intro to co-op, it's too early, they forget the process, so it's better to do it the semester beforehand.
So one thing that's nice about the semester beforehand when they're doing the intro to co-op is that the person that's teaching that course is their co-op counselor.
Right.
And so there's that repeated meeting with your co-op counselor, very easy to be able to sort of check in on your individual, and they begin that search, right? They begin that search at the end. So you're building a relationship, then starting a search. It's just a wonderful process of support.
Ben, I think you'll love this question coming your way.
Go, I love it.
And is the curriculum structured such that the first year or two is general computer science courses and then somewhat unexciting as we keep going up to the third?
Oh.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. So Northeastern's built on a pedagogy of sort of really looking at teaching programming and the art of programming and what it means to be a programmer in the first year course. So those first year parents, they've got a student that this is a difficult semester, it's a lot of work. And so the first year, students are really looking at, tightly making a program, and then we expand it out. So in terms of teaching programming and software development, we have a sort of tight 1, 2, 3. This is very common across all universities, so-called CS1, CS2, and CS3. And this is really getting people, and for us in Northeastern, you should think that CS1, CS2, and CS3. CS3 is the one that basically by the time you're out there and you're ready to go on a co-op, they can see that you can pick up any programming language, you can write big pieces of software, you can be trusted to be able to look for bugs in an appropriate way. So that curriculum is really tight around that. And then for theoreticians like myself that are really into the numbers, we have a sort of Math 1 and Math 2 that set them up. So that first year, again, very prescriptive, but again, beautiful, where they're sort of got the introduction to the math class the first semester of their first year, and that sort of second follow-up. What I would actually say is the Math 3 that they get is the algorithms course. And so often students are trying to do both this object-oriented design, what I said CS3, and the algorithms course before they go on a co-op. And that's actually what happens with some of the new term is that students then take those particular courses as their new term.
Saw some questions come up about the cost of new term, and actually it's half of what a fall semester or
Yes,
a spring
the half
semester would come. So
Yep.
we are going to have to end this. It's been a pleasure talking to you all so much.
You've been great.
I've learned so much. I just remind parents that we do these webinars quite frequently, and our next one coming up is going to be on global opportunities, which many questions came up about that tonight. So I hope you will be able to join us. That will be on February 13th, and we will send an email out about that. Then we'll hope you'll be able to join us. After I say goodnight to you all, we're going to be asked you to complete a brief survey to provide us with feedback on this evening's session, as well as share any suggested future topics that you would like us to see us do. I want to thank everybody for being part of tonight. If you have any questions, either for Ben or Doreen, their email addresses are up on the board, and also you can email myself at parents@neu.edu. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.